Okay, I know it's strange that I've never touched Game of Thrones, as it is considered by many, if not the greatest, then definitely one of the greatest TV series ever created. But the truth is, I never found the need to watch it. Yeah, I always knew it was good, but for some reason it just never clicked. So I decided that I wouldn't be an uncultured swine anymore, and Game of Thrones time it was. And as I said earlier, many people consider Game of Thrones the best show ever created, so my expectations were high to say the least. But how good was the first Game of Thrones season really? Disclaimer, I haven't watched anything Game of Thrones related, nor have I spoiled anything for myself from the series. My opinion is strictly based on what I think and what I've seen from season 1. I may be wrong about a lot of things, or right about a lot of things. We'll see. World building. So the most important element for me in any piece of fiction is the world building, and the show does its best to create a really good world. But my problem is that I know the best is yet to come, as there is legit no way that the most insane piece of world building isn't on the other side of the wall. But as that isn't explored, at least not yet, I'm crossing my fingers that it will be with the Jon Snow's Benjen rescue mission. For now, we'll focus on what is explored. Towns and structures. We have Winterfell, King's Landing, the Night's Watch, the Eyrie, the Wall, and wherever Daenerys is. The Eyrie. Although pretty small for a castle, I really like the design. It's like a castle in the sky, and my favorite part about it is definitely the sky cells. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in fiction. King's Landing. Well, King's Landing is kinda basic. I mean, it's a cool castle town, don't get me wrong, but it's still just a regular castle town. Winterfell. Winterfell gives me kind of a Skyrim town vibe, which I really like. It's cozy in a way and even feels nostalgic for some reason, even though I've never seen it before. The Night's Watch. The Night's Watch is probably my favorite piece of world building. I love when the team is all white and snowy, with harsh conditions all around, with every day being a battle for survival, giving off the vibe of people living there against the power of nature. The Wall. The Wall is a giant piece of ice that separates all of our favorite characters from the seemingly building danger on the other side. Overall, it's a key point to the story, as it is our main defense, and it's pretty cool. Wherever Daenerys is. Apart from shamans, savages and blood rituals, the place seems pretty basic, nothing too crazy out there. Creatures. We have the weirwood trees, savages, dragons and white walkers. I might be missing something? The weirwood trees. Now some of you might wonder why I put these trees in the creatures tab instead of the structures one. Well, it's because there's legit no way these guys ain't alive. Legit zero. Other than that, people seem to find comfort in them, visiting them to clear their heads or just pray. Savages. Well, they seem like normal people, at least I'm not noticing anything that different. I may be mistaken who the savages are though. Dragons. Okay, the dragoons are cool, not gonna lie. If Daenerys can command them to do what she says, it would be really interesting to see how others deal with her. Robert might have been right. White Walkers. These guys are quite interesting. I don't really know a lot about them other than that they can only take damage from fire, kinda convenient for some, but apparently if the story is about them told by this reliable source are true, they have some sort of pet spiders? Yeah, these guys are cool, and them having pet spiders would be even cooler. Characters. Let's start with the Starks. Eddard Stark. Eddard is simply him. He is an honorable, loyal and courageous man who deeply loves his family and friends. But as we know, loyalty gets you killed, as his loyalty towards Robert was the reason he traveled to King's Landing in the first place. Eddard always tends to show mercy when there's room for it, even to those not deserving. He isn't afraid to state what's wrong, or his opinion in general, even if the whole world is against him, because that's who Eddard is. He values honor, loyalty and honesty, and has a great sense of justice, but unfortunately the prettiest flowers always get picked first. As for the cruel world of Game of Thrones, a good man can only be an obstacle, needing to be crushed. Monkey D. Dragon from One Piece once said that a child is their parents' weak spot, and Eddard's situation is no different, as he dies for the sake of his children, but I have to argue that it wasn't his physical death that was the end of him, it was the death of his honor, the fact that he had to go against everything he stood for. From what I've said, you might think that Eddard is self-righteous, but you will be wrong, as he is relatively open-minded. An example for that is when he gave the order to kill the direwolf pups, but Jon Snow argued that it would be better to keep them. Eddard didn't disregard Jon's opinion, he acknowledged it, and even agreed. Overall, Eddard is a great husband, father and man. I'm kinda sad that there won't be any more of him, but at least we got to experience his character, even for a short period of time. Prediction for season 2? Well, he's kinda dead, so... Highlight from season 1? As I was really divided between him standing up to Robert about assassinating Daenerys and him lying at his execution, and the fact that we don't have a prediction for season 2, we'll do both of them. Let's start with him standing up to Robert. Now imagine this, you go face to face with the most powerful man in the world, that can order your death with just a raise of his finger, and you tell him that he is wrong and you're not going to follow his orders, and you do that in front of his council, which in one way or another lowers his authority. That takes some balls of steel. It definitely did help that Robert was Eddard's friend, but as we know, Robert isn't exactly the greatest human being, so there was always a chance of him punishing Eddard. His second highlight is him lying at his execution. We know how much Eddard values honor and honesty, so for him to lie that he did something so despicable just shows us how far he would go to protect his family, which makes the scene even more gut-wrenching. Catelyn Stark. Catelyn is the wife of Eddard and the mother of Robb, Sansa, Arya, Bran and Rickon. Oh, and she's a certified Jon Snow hater. But let's first talk about her, and then we'll get to her attitude towards Jon Snow. She's a really brave and strong woman, and she loves her family to death, as we saw by the way she was losing her sanity guarding the unconscious Bran, begging the gods to bring him back. But she sometimes goes a little overboard with her emotions. As you know, there's a thin line between bravery and stupidity. And the way she captured Tyrion, yeah, I don't think that was bravery. She just lost control over her emotions and made a bad decision over her spite towards the Lannisters. But don't get me wrong, she had every reason to do so, knowing that they were the reason her son almost lost his life. I'm not saying what she did wasn't justified, I'm saying it was rushed and badly executed. As for her attitude towards Jon Snow, she sees him as a mistake. Jon is a constant reminder that Eddard cheated on her and she doesn't take a single second to mask her hatred towards him. An example being the scene in which everyone started preparations to leave Winterfell to check on the deserter from the Night's Watch, and she just stood there and looked Jon with disgust. The roots of her hate for him are so deep that she even kicked him out of the room when he was saying his goodbyes to the unconscious Bran. Another example for her emotional trauma is when she was sitting with Cersei at the dinner party, and they watched Robert cheat with some northern woman, and the way they both looked him with disgust just shows that they understood each other's pain, or at least they know they're in the same boat. Prediction for season 2? My prediction for Catelyn is that she loses her life, and I feel like that will be so the bond of Jon Snow and Robb can grow stronger, as I feel like while she is alive, her hatred towards Jon prevents them from growing a stronger bond as brothers. Highlight from season 1? Her talk with Jaime after they captured him. It just felt so real, raw and deserving. Robb Stark. Robb is an interesting fellow. He is the oldest child in the Stark family and he resembles his father Eddard in lots of ways. What differs him is that he kinda has an ego and feels the need to prove himself here and there, which as we know is quite different from Eddard. Robb is very loyal to those he loves, and I mean very loyal, even straight up going to war with the strongest of enemies for his family. He's very courageous, but before you gently remind me about him shaking before raising the banners, let me explain what my definition for courage is. I strongly believe true courage isn't the absence of fear, but the ability to feel afraid and still choose to act or move forward despite that fear. That said, I really like Robb as an individual, but as a commander, oh boy do I love him. He is strict yet merciful, as he tries to avoid needless killing and he grieves for the loss of his soldiers' lives, treating them as separate individuals and not some battle unit, like most commanders do. And he is now the king of the north, so I can't wait to see more of him. Prediction for season 2? He goes completely mad. I feel like he will eventually crumble and lose his sanity because of all the pressure he has on his shoulders right now. Highlight from season 1? Raising the banners. As I mentioned earlier, courage isn't the absence of fear, but overcoming it. And what he did required a lot of courage. He took responsibility for not only his and his family's lives, but for many other people's as well. Sansa Stark. So the Stark I probably dislike the most is Sansa. I mean the others are pretty likable, so that doesn't help her at all. Sansa is the polar opposite of Arya. She embraces her family inside, wanting to be a queen and bear Joffrey's children. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. She likes knitting and is apparently very good at it, even receiving compliments on her work. But she lacks the more common Stark traits like loyalty, as she basically betrayed Arya after her fight with Joffrey, straight up lying for his sake, and courage as she never stands up for anything, not even herself. She just stands there looking hurt, not even uttering a single word. Her decisions practically started a domino effect which led to Joffrey eventually ordering Eddard's execution. Let me explain what I mean by that. I strongly believe that the moment Joffrey avoided taking responsibility from the confrontation with Arya was the moment he fully awakened his god complex and started thinking that he can get away with anything. As before that, when he did something not to the preference of others, he got punished in one way or another. But this time he only got away with Robert mocking him a bit. Now imagine that. Sansa, instead of lying, did tell the truth. Joffrey would have gotten what he deserves, and his ego would have been shattered, while everyone in the room acknowledges his true cowardice, and maybe that would have made Eddard more careful, as he would have known what he's dealing with. Prediction for season 2? She continues being a punching bag. To be honest, I don't even see what she can do to change things. Highlight from season 1? Passing out at Eddard's execution. I can't even lie, that cracked me up. But on a serious note, it goes to her not breaking down after seeing Eddard's head on the spike. Even if I do dislike her, I have to give credit where it's due. Seeing your father's head on a spike and not breaking down crying and screaming is impressive by itself. But considering that Joffrey was teasing her about it, makes it even more impressive. Arya Stark. The first time that we see Arya, she is part of a knitting class with Sansa, but unlike her sister, which is really talented at knitting, Arya doesn't seem interested in it at all. I think that this scene gives us a hint about what to expect from Arya throughout the season, as the way she isn't interested in knitting, she isn't really interested in her feminine side, finding real interest in swords and bows instead of dresses. Arya is a really brave child. When she sees injustice, she isn't afraid to speak up, even if the person is bigger than her physically or with a greater status. Similar to the other Starks, she is very loyal, not wanting to leave those she loves behind, whether that would be storming to the execution of her father before getting stopped by Yoren, or not wanting to leave her sword fighting teacher behind, even though the odds aren't in their favor. Prediction for season 2. My prediction is that she reunites with Jon Snow at the Night's Watch and tells him about the execution. Other than that, she trains with the Night's Watch and grows mentally and as a soldier, building a bond with Gendry, and continuing the Stark-Baratheon friendship in the process. Highlight from season 1? Her first kill. My girl didn't even flinch. Wait, I might need better wording on that. Bran Stark. Bran is the second youngest child in the Stark family and is really curious what for the life beyond the wall and wants to grasp every bit of information about it. Me too, Bran, me too. He embodies the Starks' traits and he's kinda like Robb in a way, but a much younger and immature version of him. Bran is a fighter. He wants to fight, but unfortunately, fate doesn't always favor the worthy. Prediction for season 2? He begins walking again. There is legit no way that Hodor carries him around for the rest of his life, right? Whether that would be some kind of magic or a walking aid, he will start walking again. Highlight from season 1? Catching the Lannisters. Yeah, I was obviously going to pick that one. Bro called them walking. Rickon Stark. Okay, from the little information I've gathered about Rickon from season 1, he is the youngest child of the Stark family and I strongly believe that he can see or at least sense the presence of ghosts, indicated by the scene in the burial chambers. I feel like he will be very important in the future seasons, but for now, that's kinda it. Prediction for season 2? We get an explanation on why he was really in the burial chambers. Highlight from season 1? Scaring Bran. To be honest, it scared me as well. Benjen Stark. Benjen is the brother of Eddard and the man of the Night's Watch. First of all, he treats Jon Snow as family, which not everyone does, and I strongly respect. He even refused to take Jon with him on an expedition because he wanted to protect him, stating that he wasn't ready yet. Benjen loves his family, both his biological and sworn ones. He is basically like the cool uncle everyone just can't help but love. Prediction for season 2? He is alive. I strongly believe that he sent his horse to warn his brothers about something there, but I think he hasn't kicked the bucket yet. Highlight from season 1? When he snapped at Tyrion for not respecting the Night's Watch. I felt like he did it out of respect for his brothers, which he treats as family. From their conversation, I felt like Benjen doesn't really care if someone mocks him or fights him, but he sure does care if someone goes out at somebody he loves. And that was all for the Starks. Let's continue with the Lannisters. Tywin Lannister. Tywin is the head of the Lannisters and the father of these three. From the first time that we see him, we get an idea of how much he values reputation and pride. Although he uses lines like, "A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinion of sheep," he also wanted to free Tyrion as soon as possible because him being captured tarnished their family's name. Tywin also has a preference for his children, neglecting Tyrion, calling him the lowest of the Lannisters, and saying stuff like Jaime wouldn't have allowed to be captured so easily. Well, Jaime did get captured, and when he did, Tywin immediately tried to fix his relationship with Tyrion. Overall, he seems like the person who chases his interests, whatever the cost. Prediction for season 2? He betrays his family. I feel like when he sees Joffrey, he's going to start plotting a pawn against him. Highlight from season 1? Taking the cup of wine away from Tyrion. Not gonna lie, I found that hilarious. Jaime Lannister. Jaime, or Kingslayer as most call him, is Cersei's twin brother and one of the slimiest TV characters I've seen. I'm talking prime edge kinda slimy, as he constantly teases and mocks people, even if there's no reason for it. Jaime is an elite warrior, but that doesn't seem to be enough for him, as he always finds himself in situations that require some brutality, cold-heartedness, or straight-up cheating. Some examples are how a guard pierced Eddard's leg, and I know that he got mad at the guard for ruining his duel, but he always tends to find himself in these types of dishonorable situations. But if we leave the duel with Eddard out of the equation, as that was really out of Jaime's control, he was straight up willing to go as far as to murder a child, not even showing remorse afterwards. Prediction for season 2? He loses his life. Well, he is currently captured by the people whose life his family ruined, so yeah, I don't think Jaime would survive season 2. Highlight from season 1? Proving he isn't all bark and no bite. He told Tywin he wasn't afraid of dying, and it seems like, at least for now, that he doesn't fear the Starks or losing his life. He even teases and mocks them when he gets a chance. Cersei Lannister. Okay, I don't really know how to approach Cersei, so let's first talk about what we know about her. She is Jaime's twin sister and the mother of his child. Yeah, the Lannisters are a strange bunch, but even though Cersei is a mother herself, that doesn't stop her from being involved in Bran almost losing his life and everything that followed. Oh, and she lied to Robert about his true son, hid his identity, and disowned him. But I don't really know, as their relationship with Robert is kinda strange as well. Maybe I just need to see more of Cersei before I can give a proper opinion, so let's leave it at that for now. Prediction for season 2? She helps the Starks. I don't know why or how, but I feel like after what happened to Eddard, she would feel indebted to them in a way and help them somehow. I might be completely wrong about that one though. Highlight from season 1? Standing her ground against Robert. I felt like that was the moment she fully left Robert in her past life, shattering whatever bond they had completely. Joffrey Lannister. Next up is the deranged inbred son of Cersei and Jaime. And how can you tell that Jaime is his father? Well, he completely inherited his god complex. But unlike his father, he doesn't have the reputation or swordsmanship to back it up, as he is just an arrogant spoiled kid. But that doesn't stop him from lying and making stuff up only to benefit from the situation or to avoid taking responsibility from the suffering he has caused. As a person, well, he's terrible enough, even getting labeled a monster by some, but as a king, well, he is even worse, causing people suffering for for his own entertainment and overall being a tyrant. Prediction for season 2, he gets dethroned. Like I mentioned earlier, when Tywin sees what a monster he is and his irrational and self-centered decisions, he will start plotting a way to dethrone him and will probably succeed. Highlight from season 1? Man, do I hate the fact that I have to pick a highlight for him. My choice is him eliminating Eddard. He saw an obstacle, a potential threat and got rid of him. Tyrion Lannister. Quite possibly my favorite character from season 1. Tyrion Lannister, or the Imp, is the brother of Cersei and Jaime, but unlike them he is pretty likable. Tyrion is just a clever half-man who doesn't seem to care about anything. You try to make a clever remark about him, he snaps back with an even more clever response. You try to trick him or harm him in any way, well, he remains calm under pressure and always finds a way to get out of a bad situation with the best possible outcome for him. Apart from the incident with his first wife. And overall he isn't that bad, as he even helped Bran with the special saddle design so he can ride again and warn Jon Snow about the Night's Watch before he enlisted. Prediction for season 2? He gets betrayed by Shae. I mean, it's not insane to think that history might repeat itself, right? Highlight from season 1? I really wanted to pick the time he hit Joffrey a couple of times, but his highlight is definitely getting out of the area alive. That was against all odds basically, but he managed to pull a rabbit out of the hat. The Baratheons. Robert Baratheon. The first time we see Robert, he makes a good first impression. Friendly, joking, even mocking himself a little. But his mask quickly falls as he reveals his true colors. Robert basically cares about 4 things. Eating, drinking, whoring, and war. He's been like that since he was 16 and never grew out of it. Still talking and acting like a teenager. He's a total hypocrite as well. He constantly insists how much he misses Lyanna, which, in case you don't know, was Eddard's sister and Robert's fiancé, even blaming Eddard for burying her in a crypt instead of under the open sky. Yet later, when talking to Cersei, he admits he doesn't even remember what Lyanna looked like. You could say it's a coping mechanism, but honestly, it feels like he just uses Lyanna as an excuse to justify his behavior and mistreatment of Cersei. After visiting Lyanna's grave, instead of staying solemn, he's right back to partying, making out with another woman in front of Cersei's eyes. Later, when he talks to Eddard, he calls him his only loyal friend. But does he really treat him with respect? No, not at all. He mocks Jon Snow's mother, calling her a whore, and even if she was a whore, she's still the mother of Eddard's child. That alone deserves some respect. Robert though doesn't see it that way. Robert is just a shell of his former self. Once a strong, brave soldier, now reduced to plotting the assassination of Daenerys. Not because of what she did, but because of who she is, going straight for bloodline. And the irony, on his deathbed, he tells Eddard to leave Daenerys alone if it isn't too late, because well, it's not his problem anymore. To be fair, he has his moments when he tries to make things right. He apologizes to Eddard for not taking Arya to him, trying to calm the situation down. As a king, he only uses his power when it suits him. He doesn't care about the city's debt or people's suffering, he just wants his wine and horse. The only thing he seems truly passionate about is killing. He even loves recalling how his enemies begged for mercy. He does have humor though.
Who named you? Some half-wit with a stutter?
Half-wit with a stutter? Okay, I'll give him that one. But when it comes to treating the little man, Robert fails. His treatment of his squire Lancelot, whatever this guy is called, shows exactly what kind of man he has become. At the council, when he insists on killing Daenerys, Eddard calls him no better than the Mad King, and Robert's reaction is to threaten him to have his head on a spike. Well, Robert might be a terrible king, husband and father, but when it comes to war and killing, well, he's really good at it, even stating that killing clears his head. That's just who he is, a man that peaked in battle, then wasted everything else. In the end, on his deathbed, he tried to make things right, but by then it was already too late. Prediction for season 2? Well, I don't think he will be resurrected, so highlight from season 1? Trying to make things right on his deathbed. Even though it was already too late, he tried, and I'll give him that. If for a moment he can be a regular human being, that's worth mentioning. Renly Baratheon. Renly is the younger brother of Robert, and if he was an animal, he probably would have been a chameleon, because Snake is already taken. Renly doesn't search for solutions, he just likes to blame the people for not doing a better job, as we saw by the way he treated the City Watch's Knight. He is in a gay relationship with this fellow, but is afraid to be public about it, which indicates his lack of confidence in himself, which we later see another example of, when he gets told by his partner that he could be the next king, and he immediately disregards it as a joke. Renly always criticizes his brother, but does he do anything to change him or correct him? No, he's afraid to stand up to him, having only the confidence to talk behind his back. Wait, he did stand up to him once, and then he immediately left. Oh, and the thing he stood up for was people's lives, when he did nothing while they were talking about killing Daenerys and her child, which makes me believe that he stood up to Robert that time because he was already set on the throne, even being ready to throw his brother under the bus for his goal. You can say he was really scared when he informed Eddard about Robert's accident, but even then I would argue that he couldn't finish his sentence while looking Eddard, Robert's loyal friend, in the eyes because of his lack of loyalty and honor. And when they arrive to Robert's room for his final moments, he gets kicked out because Robert wants to have a private talk with Eddard, and instead of feeling sad that he may never talk to his brother again, he got angry that he got kicked out of the room. Now don't get me wrong, Robert was a terrible human being, but Renly can at least show him some respect at his final moments, but instead of that, as Eddard leaves the room, he immediately goes to him to plot Joffrey's dethroning, who I believe everyone still knows as Robert's son. And I get that he thought that Cersei was gonna be the one ruling, but as we saw later, that wasn't really the case. Do you remember when Eddard was walking towards Joffrey in the throne room with Baelish and Varys on his sides, which might have been a reference to the scene with the Shadow Angels from Emperor's New Groove, with Baelish being the bad one and Varys the good one, which, yeah, was kinda right, I guess? Well, in this scene, Renly was non-existent, which might have been because he's neither good or bad, he just follows his interests. Prediction for season 2, his affair gets discovered and he gets bullied for it. Here's the thing, if he was confident in himself, then he wouldn't care about people knowing, but as he is now, he will for sure care. Highlight from season 1, I guess standing up to Robert while they were hunting. Although hypocritical because of the Daenerys situation, he still took some balls to stand up to him. Gendry Baratheon. Gendry, or Blacksmith Boy, is a true son of Robert. He works in a blacksmith before eventually getting selected for the Night's Watch, like it's the NBA. I believe that his blacksmith mentor or teacher, whatever you call it, saw how the Lannisters took care of Eddard and decided that it would be better for him to leave King's Landing and go to the Night's Watch. Personality-wise, he's described as very talented and hardworking, and he's very brave, as he stood up to Eddard while he was inspecting the helmet he made, telling him that it's not for sale. Imagine it was Jaime instead of Eddard in this scene. Gendry would have needed to learn to make helmets only using one arm. Apart from all that, he protected Arya when she was getting bullied, indicated that he has a strong sense of justice. Prediction for season 2, he becomes a respectable swordsman and makes his vow towards the Night's Watch. Highlight from season 1, protecting Arya. At least one Baratheon managed to protect a Stark. Targaryens. Viserys Targaryen. Another character I really dislike is Viserys. I mean, to offer your sister to the leader of the Savages so you can rule their army is one thing, but to state that you would let his 40,000 man army do her if it means you rule them is borderline insane. But what can you really expect of him? He thinks everyone is indebted to him in some way or another and treats them like they are a lower life form. Prediction for season 2, the same one as Robert and Eddard. Highlight from season 1, getting his golden crown. I mean, achieving your goal is pretty respectable. Daenerys Targaryen. Daenerys is one of the few remaining Targaryens and the currency her brother used in his trade with the Dothraki. Jokes aside, she is just a girl trying her best. Well, the trade does eventually happen and she becomes the wife of Khal Drogo, who isn't the type to wait around, as he sadly violates her soon after. I believe that was the moment she developed some sort of Stockholm syndrome, which is basically feeling affection towards your captor. But as we know, adaptability is humanity's superpower, and Daenerys is no different, as she full-on embraces the Dothraki's way of living, learning their language, doing their rituals, trying her hardest to become one of them, and when she fully embraces being the Khaleesi, she starts to command authority to the Dothrakis, which just shows her progress and growth, as she goes from the little girl who does everything her brother tells her, without thinking if it is good, bad or reasonable in the first place, to the Khaleesi who commands authority and respect. Unfortunately, her affair with Khal Drogo doesn't end in the best way possible, resulting in a forbidden blood ritual, some tears and a pillow fight. But it all works out in the end, as she now is the proud mother of 3 fire-breathing puppies. Prediction for season 2, she raises her puppies. Well, everyone needs a training arc, so highlight from season 1, walking into the fire. Both metaphorically and physically, she completely left her previous life behind for her new one, saying goodbye to her beloved and embracing being the mother of dragons. I feel like Daenerys was like a bird locked in a cage and now she's completely free. I really wanted to make the dragoons joke, but I won't. That's how you know I've matured. Other important characters. Baelish, Varys and Pycelle. Okay, I think I'm supposed to do Baelish, Varys and Pycelle together because of the way they interact and complement each other as characters. So Baelish, Varys and Pycelle are basically the bad, the good and the indifferent. What I meant earlier about them complementing each other was that you get a stronger impression of each one of them by comparing them to the others. When you see Baelish, you clearly see the bad. Then when you look at Varys, his good side stands out even more in contrast. Meanwhile, Pycelle's passivity becomes even more obvious when placed next to the schemes of the other two, highlighting how he just follows whoever is in power without truly caring. Peter Baelish. Baelish, or the Snake, was one of the key reasons why Eddard ended up like a candy apple. He is clever and clearly ambitious. Just the way he was looking at the throne showed that he wanted to rule the 7 kingdoms, even if that was never really going to happen. And I'm pretty sure he was practically drooling when he heard that Eddard was coming to King's Landing to be the hand of the king. Prediction for season 2? He loses his life. Maybe from Catelyn, maybe from Robb, I don't really know, but for sure he will get what he deserves. Highlight from season 1? Making Eddard stay in King's Landing. Eddard was this close to going back to Winterfell, but Baelish tricked him into staying in King's Landing, which resulted in, him getting pierced, locked in a dungeon, becoming a candy apple. I guess well played, Baelish. Varys ain't that bad, right? I mean, he went to Eddard to give him water and such. Overall, he's a bit shady, plotting something constantly, but at least for now, he hasn't done anything that bad. Prediction for season 2? He gets exiled. I don't know, I just feel like he will leave King's Landing. Highlight from season 1? Trolling Baelish in the throne room. Okay, it was kinda funny. Pycelle. Well, about Pycelle, if the king says jump, Pycelle is the first one to ask how high. He just follows orders, that's basically all there is to it. Prediction for Season 2, he loses his life. Well, he's kinda old. Highlight from Season 1, I really have no clue. Trust me guys, I tried. But he just doesn't do anything out of the ordinary or to be worthy of a highlight. Robin Arryn. First of all, I want to say that there is no way, and I mean legit no way, Joffrey is inbred and this what isn't. He screams out of nowhere, he wants to see people suffer, he's just a really strange kid. Maybe that's thanks to the fact that his mother still breastfeeds him at... Wait, how old was he again? He's 9? Prediction for Season 2? Hopefully he doesn't appear again. Highlight from Season 1? Not making a scene after his mother refused to breastfeed him. Yeah, that might be his best moment of the season. Lisa Arryn. The sister of Catelyn and the mother of Robin, who we covered a few seconds ago, Lisa is completely insane. From breastfeeding her 9-year-old child to acting paranoid all the time, which might be because of her husband's death, but if I remember correctly, her husband's death happens relatively early in the story, so that can be the reason she still breastfeeds her son, right? Right? I really don't want to get into detail about the Arryns, they are just completely crazy. Let's continue. Prediction for Season 2? The same as Robin's. Highlight from Season 1? Locking Tyrion in the Sky Cells. She got bro stuck in the most bizarre cell ever. Sandor Clegane. Sandor Clegane first appears during Robert's visit to Winterfell, where he gets a lot of disrespect from his superiors, which becomes a frequent occasion throughout the show, but he stays loyal nonetheless. Later, we learn that he was the one who took care of the butcher's son after the Arya Joffrey incident.
Good soldiers follow orders.
We also discover the tragic reason behind his deformed face. When he was younger, his brother pressed his head into burning coals, leaving permanent scars. Apart from that, he stood up for Rhaenys' lover. Though it wasn't a king's order, yet when he heard Robert's voice, he instantly stopped and obeyed, showing that although he has some free will,
Good soldiers follow orders.
interestingly enough, he seemed uneasy after acting on his own, even if it was to save someone else's life. Prediction for Season 2? I really want to believe that he might betray Joffrey for the greater good, but I just don't see it happening. Although we got glimpses of hope that he might have some free will, man's way too dedicated to following orders to do it, so my prediction is that he will continue to do so. Highlight from Season 1? Him protecting Rhaenys' lover. Even if just for a moment he acted on his own, considering his character, that's definitely a step in the right direction. Shae. Shae is a prostitute who doesn't like to talk about her past and quickly gets angry when Tyrion makes harsh remarks about her mother and father. She's clever, witty and has her own strong opinions, making her very different from the typical Game of Thrones whore, who just obeys and takes everything. Despite her profession, Shae carries a certain dignity and isn't afraid to stand up for herself. She shows genuine care and interest in Tyrion, feeling bad for him after his stories, and after he admits that he was young and foolish, she tells him that he still is. This demonstrates that she has her own moral judgment and doesn't blindly accept others' behavior. At the same time, there's a subtle mystery around her motives. Is there a chance that she was sent by Tywin, similar to how Tyrion's marriage was staged? Overall though, Shae doesn't seem like a bad person. She seeks the truth, even if it hurts, stands firm in her beliefs, and clearly has her own moral code. By the end of the season, her personality is still somewhat mysterious, but she comes across as someone trustworthy and semi-honorable, which sets her apart from others in her line of work. Prediction for Season 2? She betrays Tyrion. Come on, it's just too good to be true, considering that it was even revealed that Tyrion got betrayed by a whore once already. Highlight from Season 1? Standing up to Tyrion for his harsh guesses about her family. Let's be honest, he deserved it. You don't just attack someone else's family like that. Theon Greyjoy. Theon is essentially the Stark family's punching bag. Never truly accepted as one of them, even though he desperately tries to be. He wants that acceptance so badly that he's willing to do almost anything to prove himself. Clear example being the scene in which the direwolf pups get discovered. As soon as Eddard says that they won't survive, implementing that they should be taken care of, not even a second later, Theon already had his dagger in his hand. The constant disrespect by the family towards him gets noticed by others as well, and it even encourages them to treat him arrogantly. A prime example comes when Tyrion leaves Winterfell. As Theon bids him farewell, Tyrion mocks him by calling Robb his master and labeling Theon as nothing more than Stark's Wake. Even the whore he visits stones him for being a Wake. It's a role he can't seem to escape, and when Robb reminds him that his duty isn't truly his because it's not his house, it really hurt him. Still, beneath the arrogance and flaws, there's a genuine loyalty and love for Robb. When Eddard was attacked by Jaime, Theon got visibly upset as if Eddard was his own father. Later, when Robb calls the banners, Theon lights up with joy, proud to fight alongside his brother for House Stark. One of the strongest examples of his bond with Robb comes during the scene with the captured Lannister spy. Everyone objects to Robb's decision to let the man go, but Theon stays silent. I believe this wasn't out of fear, it was respect and love for Robb, like that of a younger brother. That said, Theon isn't exactly a saint outside the Stark circle. After losing his favorite whore, he starts making moves on their savage female captive before being stopped. His arrogance and recklessness can get the better of him, but still his loyalty to Robb shines through. When Jaime Lannister is captured, Theon is basically on demon hours, like prime King Von, practically glued to Jaime with murderous intent, showing that behind the mockery and humiliation, he is protective of the people he truly cares about, or he's just a psychopath. Prediction for Season 2? He betrays the Starks. I feel like from the way they've been treating him that Theon would betray the Starks. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I feel like he will eventually snap. The disrespect towards him is just too much. There were even moments when I was watching and thinking, don't they see that he's trying? Why are they being so unreasonably rude towards him? Hey, I really hope I'm wrong though. Highlight from season 1, saving Rob and Bran by sniping the Savage. Even though he was disrespected and neglected by Rob, he still came back to save them. And then Rob even dared to question him, straight up snapping at him, asking if he lost his mind and what if he missed. That just shows how little faith Rob has in him. But Jon didn't get angry at Rob, he just felt disappointed and hurt from his words. Yoren is honestly just a chill guy. As a man of the Night's Watch, he's responsible for finding recruits, but he also knows how to enjoy himself here and there. Even Tyrion calls him a man with a sense of humor. And from the imp, that's a lot. Yoren avoids unnecessary trouble and doesn't take sides without good reason. Like when Tyrion was seized by Catelyn at the inn, Yoren stayed calm and didn't act rashly. Later, after parting ways with Tyrion, he reached King's Landing to look for recruits. He met with Eddard and got his permission to gather men, but his real reason for seeking Eddard specifically was to inform him that Catelyn had taken Tyrion hostage. This makes me think Yoren's loyalty to Benjen runs deep, since he went out of his way to protect his sworn brothers' family on more than one occasion. During Eddard's Candy Apple transformation, Eddard stumbles into Yoren and shouts Baywar, clearly signaling his trust in him. That leads to Yoren stopping Arya on her way to her father, which in my opinion saved her life, because Joffrey surely would have wanted revenge. From that moment on, Yoren takes care of Arya, disguising her as a boy to travel with him to the Night's Watch, even though the order is male only. He cuts her hair, signaling a new beginning, and instructs her how to behave so she doesn't get herself in trouble. Whether Yoren does all of this because he's simply a good man or because he feels obligated out of loyalty to his sworn brother Benjen is up to debate. Personally, I believe he's one of the good ones, but we'll see for sure in the upcoming seasons. Prediction for season 2? He trains Arya and Gendry. Well, he can't just abandon them now. Highlight from season 1? Saving Arya. He's taking a real gamble on her. Hopefully no one notices that she's a girl at the Night's Watch. Jon Snow. If Tyrion isn't my favorite character, then it's definitely Jon Snow. Although a good boy, he's completely hated by Catelyn, and I mean fully despised, but I don't think he ever hated her back. For example, when he went to bid farewell to Bran and she basically kicked him out, he later told Robb that she was being really nice to him. Jon's got a really strong sense of justice. He protected Sam from getting bullied and even became friends with him when nobody else wanted to talk to him. He's the type who acts on what he feels is right. Call it reckless, call it irrational, but he does it without hesitation. A perfect example is when he found out about Eddard and straight up tried to leave the Night's Watch, which is obviously forbidden. The only reason he stayed was because his brothers reminded him that they're his new family. And that's the thing, Jon is a family man, even as a bastard, and he needed to hear the word family to stay grounded. Even his wolf feels symbolic. The fact that he got his wolf after all the other Stark children already received theirs, for me feels like he's kind of a Stark, but not all the way. Still, his bond with the wolf is just as strong, which shows he does belong there, even if not fully by name. There may be a reason why Theon doesn't have a wolf, and even when Alistair Thorne, this guy, threatened to make his life miserable if he kept protecting Sam, Jon didn't back down. He knows what's right and he's not afraid to do it, even if there are consequences. That's what sets him apart. He's not just a Stark bastard, he's someone destined for something greater. Prediction for season 2? He leaves the Night's Watch. He showed glimpses of rebellion already, and I feel like there will eventually be a situation which will give him no other choice but to leave. Highlight from season 1? Protecting Sam. A great man shows his greatness by the way he treats the little man. Well, in this case not so little, but you get my point. While everyone was bullying Sam, Jon Snow stood up for him, which was pretty admirable. Samuel Tarly. Although Sam joins the story a bit later, the self-proclaimed chubby coward quickly becomes friends with Jon Snow, and they grow a bond as brothers, even making their vows together. Overall, Sam's a good lad, and a loyal friend of Jon, so I can't wait to see more of him. Prediction for season 2? He leaves the Night's Watch with Jon. Let's be real, if Jon leaves, Sam is coming with him. Highlight from season 1? Going after Jon to stop him from leaving. Considering that he himself admits that he's a coward, that was pretty courageous to say the least. And we're done with the characters. I was thinking about covering these guys as well, but I don't feel like that they are important enough, at least not yet. So if they become more important, I'll cover them later in the series. Themes and symbols. Hot and cold. No, not the Katy Perry song. The contrast. In Game of Thrones, the colder and snowier, the warmer the people. The warmer and sunnier, the colder the people. The Starks, who live in the coldest of temperatures, with their motto even being, winter is coming, have the warmest hearts, while the Lannisters, who live in luxury and warmth, have the coldest hearts. The Starks even show mercy to their enemies, while the Lannisters use every dirty trick in the book, straight up willing to go as far as to endanger a child's life, with the intention of taking it away, only because the child saw something he shouldn't have. The dead dire wolf. You probably remember the scene where the Stark kids discover their precious little wolf pups, but you might have missed the deeper meaning behind it. The dead dire wolf could actually symbolize Eddard, and his death later in the show. Here's what I mean. Right after they find the pups, Eddard says something along the lines of, they won't survive on their own, but if we see Eddard as the dead dire wolf, then those pups represent his children. And guess what? Just like the wolf pups found someone to help them survive, that being the Stark kids, so did the Stark kids. Robb had Catelyn, Sansa had Joffrey. Well, she's safe as long as he doesn't completely lose his mind. Arya had Yoren, Bran had Hodor, and that one lady whose name I don't know. Rickon's one would be Bran, and Jon Snow's one would be Jeor Mormont, who, just like his direwolf, he found later. And here's the thing, they wouldn't have needed to rely on these people if Eddard had always been there to protect them, so in a way, his death actually forced them to grow. Wolves as a sense of self. The wolves of the Stark family represent something much deeper than pets. Each puppy reflects their owner's sense of self. When Sansa lied during the incident with Joffrey, she betrayed her house's most prominent traits, honesty, loyalty and honor. She didn't get punished, nor did Arya, who caused it. Instead, Instead, Sansa's wolf got punished. For me, that indicates that Sansa's sense of self was taken away that day, and she remained a punching bag for the rest of the season. Arya's wolf ran away, but she didn't betray any of the Stark's traits, so her puppy lived, and she kept her sense of self. Love versus pride. So this one's kinda tricky because there's a chance the Lannisters actually do love each other. Nah, who am I kidding? While the Starks genuinely love and protect each other, the Lannisters are a different kind of gravy. Just imagine that Bran or Robb got captured and held captive the way Tyrion did. I highly doubt the reason for saving them would be so their family name doesn't get tarnished, but that's kinda the narrative. While the Starks have a deep bond within the family, the Lannisters mainly do it if it benefits them. Well guys, that's all for this video covering season 1. I had a great time making it, although it took some time. And the fact that we can come back to it later, after season 2, to see how my takes aged makes it even better. I really hope you enjoyed it and didn't get too mad at the things I said. Love you all, I'll see you in the next one.